Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking about this solar generator, or electric generator, whatever you want to call it, right here. It's basically a giant battery bank. It technically works a little bit different than that, but I wanted to give a review on it because I'm going to be using it. I'm going to be changing the locations of my table because I'm moving it out to my shed, and because of that, and I don't have electricity out in my shed, so because of that, I needed something like this to be able to do reviews on out there. And I've been testing it out for a few days now, just kind of running different things off of it to kind of see. So this is not a long-term review, but this is more of a kind of get you in the realm of thinking of preparedness when it comes to like power outages, when it comes to bad weather, when it comes to just natural disaster stuff like that. Or just something simple as the neighbor was a bad driver and hit the telephone pole, and now you have no electricity. So our power goes out at our house probably once every 4 months or something like that. Not for maybe a couple hours out of the day. It's not a big deal, and it's usually someone hits a telephone line or telephone pole, or a tree falls down on a wire, something like that, where it's normally not that big of a deal. But having a 1-year-old now and having another one on the way, it kind of, I don't know, kind of kicked me in the rear end to get some things that would be convenient for him, but also things that I've been kind of wanting but didn't really have a real practical reason to get him, other than just it'd be nice to have just in case. So if you're looking to, persuade the wife, for instance, here's a good reason: kids. So what I'm using this for, again, is for a practical standpoint. I'm going to be using out in the shed where I'm going to be doing all my recording from now on. And since it's cold outside, I wanted something that could power a small heater and also the electricity in the shed, because again, I don't have power that runs out to that. Now, when I say a small heater, I mean a very small heater. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I put it on camera here. It's this tiny little heater right here. If I can, I'll leave a link to it. But this thing is only 200 watts. It's very, very tiny. It's meant for a desk, I would assume, but it uses a little bit more than 200 watts. Whenever it starts up, it goes just above 300, which this actually will go higher than 300 for starting. I think it goes up to 500 for a starting, but obviously it has to settle back down to 300. It might be 400, I don't remember. I'll show you the specs here in a second. But basically, the spike at the very beginning, it can handle it, and then it settles down to around 212, I think is what mine was showing. So having something like this will be useful out in the shed. Now, that something like that would also be useful, again, if the power goes out. While this one isn't the largest one that they make, obviously it's actually it's not the smallest. They make one that's like a 240, which is slightly smaller than this. That one to me was too small. It couldn't really run a whole lot of things for all that long. So this was the most money I was willing to spend on something practically, because this, in conjunction with, and I will not be able to fit this on the screen, sorry. So this in conjunction with this giant solar panel that hooks up to it will essentially give you infinite energy for as long as this thing lasts. Now, this thing will last 800 charges, I believe, before it goes down to about 80% battery capacity. So that's a decent amount right there. I'll never use it that much, and in any sort of emergency, that's a good, I look at that as each charge basically per day, because the solar panel, you'd be charging it during the daytime, and then you'd be using it the rest of the day or at night. That's kind of what I was looking at. And I wrote down a bunch of different numbers for things that I ran on this to see how long it would go, just to kind of give you an idea of what you can expect, how long to run something off of it. Now, that little portable heater, again, it's 200 watts. I was able to run it for approximately 1 hour on here, and that's not a lot, but I mean, an hour of consistent heat out of that thing will get your room nice and toasty. Honestly, I just ran it for about 10 minutes, and that was enough to actually make a noticeable difference in a bedroom for how much warmer it was in the bedroom versus the other. So if you put it in somewhere, a small bedroom or a bathroom, something like that, turn it on as you need it. That would be enough to keep the room warm, especially during the nighttime, while you slept or something. Just turn it on every now and then. Or just turn it on initially and just till it runs out, and then just, get cooler as the night goes on. But if you have kids, or maybe babies or something, where if the power goes out and you need that electricity, it'd be nice to have something that can keep their room a little bit warmer, if your power goes out for an extended period of time. And then during the daytime, you can charge it with the solar panel. And it only took I want to say it takes around 4 hours, I want to say, with like full sun. Again, could be lying, that's just what I remember. But I set it out and it actually charges really fast. Now granted, the solar panel, it's about the size of 2 poster boards, if you're familiar with that. It's a little bit smaller than that, but it folds out and it's, just put out in your yard, and it has a nice angle in it where it gets the sun. But it charges almost as fast as if you just like plug it in. So I was surprised on that. Obviously it'll charge faster if you plug it into a wall, but I was just shocked on how quickly with the solar this thing actually charged. So you could, in theory, I guess, charge it twice a day and use it, and still have enough time to charge it in theory. Now, granted, whenever I put it out there, it was like right at noon or a little bit before noon, so the sun was in full blast. So there is that. But it was nice and, I guess, comforting and reassuring for me that I made a good choice, because it charged on the solar very quickly, which I, again, was not expecting. So winter aside and cold weather aside, some other things I ran off of it. I ran a plant LED light. It's one of those plant light bulbs to keep your plants alive during the winter. And it's a low wattage bulb, but it uses, it's labeled as 11 watts, but in reality it uses 9 watts, at least according to this. And I'll show you what this looks like whenever I turn it on. That would run for 16 hours. So essentially you could charge it, this thing, during the daytime, and then run one of those low LED bulbs for basically the rest of the day, or give you light at night. You could also run a sound machine. Again, haha, wink wink, intent towards the wife. And if you have a baby or kids that need a sound machine to sleep, or they sleep better with one, or you sleep better with one, this will run a sound machine basically the entire night as well. I think those run anywhere from around 10 to 20 watts, depending on which one you get and what kind of features they have on there. So that'll easily run for 8 hours or more, depending on which one you want. It'll run a standard 100-watt bulb, which is just your incandescent bulb, for about 2.5 hours. Those things are incredibly wasteful on energy. Get yourself some LED bulbs for emergencies, and keep them aside if you don't buy them for day-to-day use. You just use regular incandescent bulbs, that's fine, but buy some LEDs. And then that way you can plug in a lamp or whatever directly to this thing, and it not just immediately drain the battery, because 16 hours with an LED based bulb is significantly better than 2.5 hours with an incandescent. So that's just what it's worth. And again, that was at a 100-watt bulb, one of the 3 clicking, you click click click, the brightness setting ones. In reality, it ran at 88 watts, not 100, but you get the idea. And last, we have a little Stanley. I think it's Stanley. It's a yellow and black snail-shaped fan. It's similar to those big fans they use to dry carpets, if you've ever seen them. I'll insert a picture of what it looks like. But on the lowest setting, it uses 67 watts of energy, which I was actually surprised it used that little, because that sucker will move some air. But it'll run that for around 3.5 to 4 hours, depending on how much energy that fan uses. And again, these are all estimates. I didn't run it completely for the 3.5 hours or however many hours. I ran it for a certain amount of time, looked at the battery percentage, and then calculated how long it would last. So just to give you a general idea of how long those things would last. So you could run a heater or a fan, and in conjunction with like a noise machine or a lamp or whatever. You can charge your phones on this thing. You can charge your tablets, if you're worried about that and you really need entertainment, I guess, during the time. So there's a lot of useful applications for something like this, especially if the power goes down, especially if you have kids. Yes, it's dark. Yes, I did that on purpose. So I plugged in a lamp that was powering, that was making you able to see things now. So if you push this button right here, it turns it on, which enables this section right here to be used. If you want to use this section, you turn on the button, and now it'll utilize that section as well, which does increase the wattage. So if I turn that off, it goes back down to 9 watts, which is what this light bulb is using currently. It's actually the plant light bulb that I use for my plants right now. It's just easier, it gives them a little bit better light where I'm at. As you can see, it's at 64% right now. It'll go up to 100. It does have a DC plug, so if you want to plug in anything that uses that, it has that option. You can turn the display button on and off so you can see the light on there. If I were to unplug this but leave this on, it uses about 3 watts of electricity just to power the entire thing, so for what it's worth. Then also here's your input right here, and here is your charger right here. It just plugs in. Here's just your standard wall charger. It comes with a little case, and I believe it comes with Yes, it does. Okay, it also comes with a DC charger, so you can charge it in your car. So if you want to use this, as a car battery station, you can. I probably won't ever use it for that, but we do go camping every summer, so maybe I'll use it for that. But again, I'm going to mainly use it as a backup for kid stuff, and then also for powering my shed, because I'm too cheap and lazy to run electricity out there, so this is an easier solution. Now, I will say I bought this with my own money. I did not get this sent to me by Jackery. They have no idea who I am. I actually bought this on a Black Friday sale, or maybe it was a Amazon Prime Day, something like that. And I got, I think, the entire thing, which was this and the big solar panel, for about $300. Normally, I think this is around $300 just by itself, so essentially I got the free solar panel with it. And the solar panel is usually around $150 to $200, somewhere in that range, so it was a substantial savings. And I've been wanting it for a while, but I just haven't gotten it. Yes, I kept a little sticker on here to protect the screen because, I'm OCD like that. But it's kind of nice because it has 2 plugins, and it gives you, again, 300 watts, and it will go higher than that. I'll insert a picture here on what the box said, all the different specs are, so if you want to get super nerdy and, look into that, you can. You can also just go to the manufacturer's website, which is what I would suggest, because I'm not an expert on all this stuff. This is just something I'm using and something I figure y'all would appreciate, the idea, or get some ideas for something, the application like this. Because we all have a whole bunch of those old battery bank chargers just laying around the house. I have like 4 or 5 of those things because my battery on my phone is just absolute trash. So I always have those with me. But those won't power anything substantial. Some of the larger ones that you can use as like jump packs for your car, they can power a little bit more, but I wanted something that you could plug in actual outlets into, and so that's why I went with this. Because again, having something for a sound machine, for a heater, for a fan, for regular lamps, all that kind of things was important to me, especially when it comes to an emergency, if your power goes out. And so in theory, I could have infinite power for, most of the day to at least be comfortable with all the things I showed you. Now, something nice too, again, the solar panel is just too massive to show you. It's large. You can look at a picture. It does come with an adapter, so you can charge this one, or you can charge the larger units as well. Now, with the larger units, you'd probably want to buy a larger solar panel or get 2 of them. But for this thing, it's absolutely fine. For a large one, you might want 2. One of the other features, a nice thing, you can leave stuff plugged into it, and then if you don't want it using power, you can just turn it off. Now it's using 0 watts. So again, it will only use electricity if you actually turn it on, and it jumps up to 9. Now if I unplug this, hopefully you'll still be able to see it. So unplug the lamp. As you can see on there, it's still using about 2 to 3 watts of energy. Now, how accurate is that? I don't know. But it's interesting. Let me plug in this heater so you can see kind of what this thing does, because why not? Alright, so I just plugged in this little heater. Let's turn it on so you can see it jump up in wattage. I'll tear this off because you're all going to complain that you can't see it. So as you can see, it jumped up 326, 329. Now it's settling back down. So again, it will go over, the 300 watts for that startup that a lot of electronics require. Sorry, I just realized there's a little bit of a glare right here. I don't know if I can. Nope, nothing I can do about it. Sorry. Actually, yes, there is. So there is a little bit of a glare there, but you can see it jumped up. Now it's settling around 226, and since it was at 9 before, okay, 225. It was settling somewhere around 215, 216 earlier today, so you'll start seeing the battery drop a lot faster because it's using closer to the full wattage. So it does have a battery bank or battery indicator right there, and it gives you a percentage. It also shows you the wattage of input, so if you're charging this with solar at the same time as running it, you can do that, or if you have it plugged in, at the same time, you can do that as well. So that is also nice. It's nice just being able to see, what everything's doing. But this thing gets warm enough. I can leave a link to Amazon for this thing if y'all are interested as well. It's the smallest one I could find that was under 300 watts. This is actually the first time I've used it, and I bought this thing like 2 years ago because I bought this with the intention of buying one of these and just finally got around to just buying this. So this has been sitting in the shed for a while. If you guys have any questions about this specifically, one thing I will say, it's pretty lightweight. Again, I'll put all the specs. I was shocked on how small this thing was compared to what I was expecting. Honestly, I was expecting something at least the size of a small cooler. This thing is about the size of a lunchbox. So again, to show you my hand right here, it's really small, which is nice. It doesn't take up a lot of space. But again, if you guys have any questions, let me know if you appreciate this kind of content. I don't know if this is supposed to be a quick video, just something I thought I would show you all to give you all some ideas. Because I'm not just a shooting, guns and gear channel. I also do some prep stuff within reason. But if you've ever gone through a power outage, or you lived in Texas during that time when their power went out and everything froze, you'll understand why you want something like this. So anyways, I hope you all have a good one.